Thank you very much, Dr. Dias, for joining us today to talk about participatory monitoring. You've participated in the Global Socioeconomic Monitoring Initiative for Coastal Management, sometimes referred to as SOCMON. Can you just briefly talk about the goals and objectives of that initiative?
Yes, so the goal of the SOCMON initiative is to facilitate a community-based socioeconomic monitoring of coastal areas and resources, in which household and community level data are collected. And it's mostly to inform the dependence of communities on coastal and marine resources, support marine and coastal management, and, for example, inform marine protected areas and regarding performance, socio-ecological information of communities that depend upon resources inside those areas. And this is also complementary to ecological monitoring. So thinking about the social and economic perspective of coastal and marine areas.
Okay, great. So SOCMON then would be what we refer to as a participatory monitoring program or process. Can you just describe then, what does that mean for those involved? What does that mean to be involved in a participatory monitoring program?
So participatory means that the stakeholders that are involved and engaged in the process. So, for example, fishers can participate in the monitoring program, marine protected areas managers or fishing unions or governmental bodies that are related to fisheries management. And there are different degrees of participation. So you can go from a consultation type of participation that is not that involve stakeholders more in a consultation about information about their uses, or can be more participatory and involve them in the design of the monitoring program itself, in the design of the goals of the monitoring, defining indicators, collecting data, analyzing data, and ultimately using the information that they get from the monitoring program. So that participatory means the involvement and engagement of these different stakeholders, and can happen in different degrees.
Okay, that's really helpful to realize there's a spectrum of participation from just consultation all the way up to really being involved in the design of the indicators in the monitoring program and using that information themselves as well for decision making. Yes. So that's good. I would imagine then that given all the people and the organizations that are involved, that there are some challenges associated with these participatory processes. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those challenges might be?
Yes, this is a good point. So once you're negotiating between different people that might have different interests, for example, fishers, that their livelihoods are dependent upon marine and coastal resources, conservation that might have some conflicting interests with fishers, not necessarily, but they are more focused on the conservation of the area itself, or more businesses that want to explore the area for economic benefit. So once you deal with this diversity of objectives and of people's interests, you need to deal with a negotiation. This is also time consuming. So you need to arrange with all those people to be available in the same time, make sure that we're not taking their time into other relevant activities for them. Language barriers, so we are used to talk in a way that might be different. For example, for people from the government, it might be different from communities, fishing communities. So I think be aware of the language that you're using and make sure that you have a common understanding of the words we use. For example, indicator is a word that we use in participatory monitoring all the time, and making sure that we understand, the group understand what that means. It's critical. And also, this is a process that happens over time. So once you're negotiating with people, it might take some time for people to understand what is the process, what is people's, everyone's interest in the developing the monitoring, how the information will be used. So all these things are conversations that is ongoing conversations throughout some time.
Okay, yeah, so that's helpful. So there are differences in objectives that can be a challenge, there are capacity and resource challenges, there are time challenges, there are language challenges. So it's a really good idea, but of course we have to be aware of these difficulties. So that's really helpful. Ultimately then, though, what we continue to think that participatory monitoring is a good way to go. So what ultimately are some of the strengths of using a participatory process for monitoring?
I think some of the strengths are the capacity building process. Once you involve people and you have an understanding of what is being monitored, why is it happening, how it happens, how it can be relevant to align local uses with conservation and with other interests. There's to develop critical indicators that are very relevant to the context, specific to the context, is also very interesting to have people that are there in a daily basis using the resources, so they have this local knowledge of what is happening on the ground. So this is a very interesting advantage as well and strength of a participatory process. This exchange between those that are being affected by rules and those that are creating rules, so that these are more in line of what is happening on the ground. All these are very interesting strengths of the participatory process for monitoring.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It really gives us a good sense of some of the opportunities and the constraints and challenges of participatory monitoring. So appreciate your time and good luck with your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.